Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the stream. I'm Zaki to Dunya. I'm gonna make this I say this all the time, short and sweet. So this is gonna be about my thoughts on free mixing, and since I reverted, my understanding of free mixing, where I come from, my stance on free mixing before I reverted, now that I reverted. So I'm going to have both perspectives from a secular point of view as well as a spiritual / religious point of view. So first off, we have to define what is free mixing. So free mixing is basically, to paraphrase it in my words, right, in a way I understand it, is the discourage of non-essential minglings between different, but between this is using the concept of there's two genders, right? I'm not going to get into the multi-gender thing. This is just from the textbook definition. I'm just going by this, right? Men and women, right? Or the two sexes. Let me just say that, two sexes. So it's discouraged for single people, right, of the different sexes to intermingle together in certain atmospheres. Right now, it's one thing if it's in the workplace. Of course, people farm and stuff. Even people back in the day, they herded cattle and goats and all this stuff. So a lot of that stuff, yeah, of course, it's one thing, for that. But it's another thing if it's like a social gathering and the intent is to meet somebody of the opposite gender, let's say a party or something like that. Not to say there has to be strict gender segregation, because that's where a lot of Wahhabis and really super ultra super strict orthodox people, that's what their mind is. But it's just like, imagine you get invited to a party and this is haram gathering, right? I'm just going to use a haram style gathering to kind of explain what you commonly see from a secular point of view, what's considered free mixing. So you will commonly see, hey, you go to a party, there's men and women, they're drinking alcohol together, and it's like a party or something like that, music's playing. Obviously, some people may be dancing together. We all know what that atmosphere is meant for, right? It's meant for people that are, to find people they're attracted to and hook up, eventually, right? Or at least make some social connections that lead towards that. I mean, let's keep it a buck. That's what parties are for. Parties are for people dancing, have a good time, and nobody wants to go to a party where it's just exclusively one gender, or exclusively. This is coming from the heterosexual point. Now, if it's same sex, that's something different. But nobody wants to go to a party where it's just nothing, and I mean nothing but guys. We call it a sausage fest. Like, guys are like, man, that party, man, I'm not gonna go to that party. That's a freaking sausage fest. Like, why would I go there? There's no chicks there. Literally, that's especially young guys. Like, that's how we think, right? And I'm pretty sure even girls think that, like, there's no freaking guys here. Like, I've spent New Year's Eve with my then girlfriend years and years and years ago, and I was the only guy there, and I know how I was treated because I didn't know any guys get invited to the party, right? So let's keep it a buck. Like, this is about being honest about human nature and how we feel about things, right? So that would be considered free mixing in that sense. So with that being said, the reason that it happens, and this is unfortunate, and it's really sad that these concepts exist in of itself, because in an ideal world, we would never meet. I think free mixing would not even be an issue. The thing is, I think that people don't realize when you have a society and you allow certain things to be considered the norm, then you have to take it. It's a package deal, right? Like, for instance, if I have a society where I say smoking is cool, drinking alcohol is cool, or doing other drugs is cool, whether it be illegal or illegal, right? Because drugs are illegal, a lot of them, but people, it's a social norm depending on where you are at to do that, right? What up, Curly? What up, man? So depending on what it's like, I live in California, like, smoking weed or even doing other drugs is considered a normal thing. Like, what I'm saying, like, you're going to see people doing whatever, right? And so that being considered, it's a package deal. And I say this a lot in my other videos. Like, if you're going to allow that, you got to, ODs are going to happen. People doing stupid stuff on them are going to happen. DUIs, people driving under influence, is going to happen. And you can try to, like, do your very best to have preventative measures, but all too often we see in society, it's people are going to do what they want to do. And people may have good intentions before they start consuming these substances or putting themselves in these situations, but all too often we see that they don't, right? And it's really sad. So same thing goes with free mixing, right? He may say, oh, blah, 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 I'm not going to intend to do this or do that with this person. But before the end of the night, you're saying their name. Let's keep it a buck, right? Or let's say you're free mixing. And this even happens to, unfortunately, married people, right? Or people in relationships. Let's just say this is in the concept. This is a haram relationship. This is just your boyfriend, girlfriend. Oh, I would never cheat on my girlfriend. But and I see it a lot. Oh, but you can get away with it. She doesn't know anybody that you know. They're not friends on social media. You will see this, but never see this person again. I've seen it all the time too often. Especially when people go overseas and stuff like that. They're not loyal, right? And I think a lot of it has to do. Yeah, there could be quote bad people, but even good people do bad things. That's why I think that the society's got messed up. It's always like, oh, if you do X, Y, and Z, you're a bad person. And I think it's really not like that. I think good people make bad decisions, just like really smart people make stupid decisions. And they end up regretting it. I know I feel that way. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, but I think I'm an intelligent person for the most part. I've made really dumb decisions in my life. I've said really dumb things. I've done really dumb things as well that I am ashamed of to this day. Right. I know really good people that were put in certain situations where they had to either commit crimes or do something that is socially frowned upon, right, in order to possibly get themselves out of that situation, right? Whether it be like a necessity, they had to steal, lie, do whatever, cheat, or whatever like that, hurt somebody because they were put in a certain situation, right? So society all too often is like they put in these labels, but they don't understand human nature. During extreme congestion, the underground is a 23-year-old virgin. This is chaos to my soul. Infuse my nafs. Hey, I'm sorry. Hey, I'm sorry. This conversation is making you feel some kind of way, man. Hey, I'm really, really sorry. Yeah, this is just about basically free mixing and why I believe that the idea of it being considered haram came from. Because where I live and most of my life, I've seen the end result of free mixing. And in the West in particular, we have a real big concept of having this personal freedom, right? We want personal freedom. And it's like two different societies, right? There's security and freedom. Americans especially, we really like freedom. We like the freedom to say what we want. We like the freedom to dress how we want. We like the freedom to do whatever we want with our bodies. And I understand where that's coming from, but that comes at a price, right? That comes at a price of your security or stability. And let's see. Yeah, I will write it again. Okay, cool. Someone's missing the comment. All right, that's what's up. Yeah, so in free mixing, for instance, things are going, if you get men and women together, even if they're not initially physically attracted to people, and people have said this out of their mouths, right? People are like, oh, I never thought this person was attractive, but they spend more time with those people and those feelings happen, especially, I say to the brothers in particular, bro, especially if she's dressing really what you would perceive as provocative, right? Lower your gaze. Try to control your thoughts. Don't let your thoughts run wild, man, because once you get that those urges, those naps, you're eventually going to want to act upon that. And some men have more self-discipline and some don't. And unfortunately, some guys, especially if they're emotionally immature and they don't know how to interact with the opposite sex properly, they get themselves into trouble. Like, let's say, hey, you've been checking out this girl. She looks some kind of way. And then, hey, before you know it, you're sending her text messages and stuff. And let's say, hey, at first they come across as friendly, but then you start letting her know that you're interested in her physically. Depending on the circumstances or the person, sometimes they can be like, oh, I find it flattering, but I'm not interested. And some of them can actually take it back as, to be honest, sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is kind of a vague term. Like you can, depending on the person, it could be just like, hey, do you want to go out on dinner? And then it can just be like, no. And by the way, I have a boyfriend and I think that you knew that. And that's kind of tacky, yada, yada, yada. That's why I tell brothers, man, like avoid those kind of situations, especially, bro, wallahi, bro, avoid intoxicants, man, because, man, dude, I can tell you, and this is coming from my own mouth, man, wallahi, man, you know what I'm saying? This is the straight truth, bro. Brothers, man, I know you're out there. It's tempting and stuff like that, man, but there's way too many men that have said stupid things they can't come back from because they're intoxicated and the cell phone's right there, the internet's right there. They see a girl and that they're fancying, whether it be somebody they work with, somebody they have a class with, somebody that they know personally, and then the first thing they do is like slide in the DMs, and they're very forthcoming, right? Because some people do like somebody that's very forthcoming. They're like, hey, WYD, what's going on? Come through. Some people can take that like as being like way too aggressive or makes them feel uncomfortable. And then before you know it, you're known to a lot of people as being the thirsty guy. And once you get that label as a thirsty guy, you can't really come back from it, you know? Yeah, Curly, you're right. Hey, what's up, Nicer? Hey, I'm glad you see her. Bro, how do you avoid free mixing? I take the train to work every day. Hey, so I'm reading this comment. You take the word to every day, and it would be packed in my arms over rubbing people body doing be packed. That's Cass from an ass. Hey, dude, I understand, but dude, unfortunately, that's the world we live in right now. It's just about self-discipline and control. Like for me, believe it or not, man, this is why I was talking about music one time, and I understand why music is, for the most part, considered haram by most scholars. However, sometimes music keeps me mentally away from like the present world, right? So sometimes when I'm listening to music, especially if I'm working out, like, dude, I go to gyms. There's free mixing at the gyms, right? Like, I'm not looking at these girls walking around in yoga pants and tight shorts and stuff like that. I'm like keeping my head down. I'm in the zone. I'm focused on working out. If I go on a run, I'm not focused on checking out girls while I run. I'm in the zone. I'm just listening to music. If I'm out in public and I'm just taking a walk and I'm listening to headphones, I'm not looking at all the girls that are passing me by and looking behind me to see if they have a cute butt. You know what I'm saying? And that's just how I view it. And that's how I deal with it. Because I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to keep it a buck. I don't want to sound I'm going to be really honest with my audience, right? I have for most of my life really struggled with being kind of like overtly sexual. And I don't mean to come across that way. And it's to a point where people, when you develop that reputation as being like somebody that's very open about pursuing like a physical contact or physical relations with someone, you can never really come back from that, even if you try to discipline yourself. Like, you're known as like, oh man, that guy, he tries to hit on every single girl. That guy, he slides in every girl's DMs. Oh, that guy does this. That guy does that. Oh, on the weekend, I know that guy. He's with this girl and that girl, and he's like, you know, he's got a high body count or something like that. Like, once you have that reputation, it's the same thing with females. Like, oh, if you get known as the girl that gets around at work, everybody knows that. And let alone you just be seen with other guys. Like, people are just going to assume that you're hooking up with. This goes to the sisters. People are just going to assume that you're hooking up with all these guys. They're like, oh man, she's hanging out with this guy. She's hanging out with that guy. It's obvious that they're, you know, being intimate, you know? Yeah, like I mentioned, my best tip. So I'm not advocating for you to do anything wrong. So with the music thing, you could take that and say, hey, I listen to nasheeds, right? I listen to things that are considered halal. I listen to nasheeds, or I listen to lectures and podcasts. There's a lot of good young Muslim podcasts out there. I think Fresh and Grounded is a really good one. Fresh and Grounded, I highly recommend them. There's the Blood Brothers. They're a really good one. There's the Mad Maluks. Those guys are pretty cool. Believe it or not, actually, and they're a really controversial group, and you're from the UK, but I really like them. Baraka Boys. I really like Baraka Boys because they were very honest about free mixing and how free mixing leads to sex. And those guys get a lot of flack for being participating in music and how they dress and how they talk, but they were very honest about that. And to see young guys talk like that openly and be like, yes, like for real, like free mixing, like let's be honest, free mixing does lead to these interactions between men and women all too often, right? And how they talked about the effects of pornography on Muslim youth. That was a beautiful thing to see. That was really empowering to see. UK boys, yeah, and Blood Brothers and Mamelukes, yeah. I don't know if you like them. I personally really like them. They were some of the first guys that I got into that were honest and stuff. And I know they're really on the fringe sometimes or whatever because they're not these sheikhs and they're not scholars and this and that. But it's good to see guys because I think I see myself in them. Like I come from the same perspective. A lot of those guys, some of them are reverts too. So I'm like coming from like the perspective of especially Baraka boys. I'm come from the perspective of, oh man, I see myself in them. There's also the Young and Muslim podcast. Check out the Young and Muslim podcast. There are two brothers from the U.S. Both of them are black. Really good too. Amazing. They talk about NAFs all the time. So highly recommend those guys too. But anyway, yeah, like it's a thing. And it's really hard because I grew up most of my life with free mixing. Like it's just you live here in America, it's so natural. And you know, you go to school with girls and this and that. And I think what really sucked for me is when you're young and you hit puberty as a boy, you're still trying to navigate what social interactions. Oh, hey, sister talk. Wallahi, you know what I'm saying? I'm glad you see you're here. Assalamu alaikum, by the way. So when you're a young boy and you're just trying to learn how to talk to girls, you're already participating in free mixing because a lot of the time you're following examples, right? You listen to the music, you look at movies, you look how your parents interact with each other, your friends, how they talk to girls. So you're like, hey, you know, I like this girl. She's beautiful. You know what I'm saying? I'm starting to have feelings for her. How do I go about talking to her? And so, I mean, that's automatically free mixing. And then sometimes it's harder for certain guys to actually get, you know, in tune with how a woman thinks about things, like what turns a woman like on as far as the interest. I'm not talking about just sexual, but it'll be like, oh, this guy, he knows how to talk. This guy, he dresses pretty well. Some of us, it takes a long time, a period for that to happen because a lot of us, especially once my parents divorced, right around the time I hit puberty, I wasn't given a lot of guidance. So I was like, I was never taught how to interact with women. I was never taught how to talk to the opposite gender. So all too often, I hate to say it, when you see the movies and all that stuff, it makes it just seem so easy. Like if you're a guy, all you got to do is just go up to a girl, put your hand on the locker, and just be like, "Yo, hey, how's it going? I'm new in school, you know what I'm saying? My name is Zaki, you know what I mean? I just came into town, you know, what class do you have? I think I have a class with you, you know, would you like, you know, to after school to like, you know, hang out sometime and study?" And we all know what studying is. Let's be honest. When men and women study together, we know what they're trying to do, especially kids, man. We know what they're trying to do. And mashallah, sister, I'm so glad and I'm so honored to have you here because your content inspires me to kind of talk about these issues a lot because you seem very honest, especially from your field, the things you've seen. I can only talk about, you know, about not it from a scholarly textbook kind of way, but also from my experiences as well. So mashallah, thank you for joining. But anyway, so free mixing comes across so natural. And I think one problem that happens to young men, and to be honest, like this was a big thing for me, is society puts so much emphasis on young men being able to sexually, and I'm gonna use the word conquer, and this doesn't mean in any kind of malicious way as far as taking advantage of a woman. I'm not talking about that. Wallahi, my heart goes out to any victims of that. I'm talking about men having as many women that they're either intimate with or women that they at least have numbers of that they're keeping in contact with. I mean, because in high school, man, guys, you know, we're in the locker room or we're hanging out together and stuff like that. It's like, oh man, are you going out with so-and-so? Are you hooking up with her? Did you make out with her? Did you make out with her? You know what I mean? And it's so much emphasis. And if you're not a guy, if you're a guy and you're not doing those things, your friends kind of look upon you as being suspect. And in this day and age, yes, LGBT and all that stuff's a lot more accepted and stuff like that. But I think even these days, you have to be honest, even heterosexual men will look down on other men for not engaging in sexual activities with the opposite gender as early as possible, right? Let's just keep it a buck. So your friends, you know, they kind of mock you and they kind of make you belittle you because you don't have any game. You don't know how to talk to females and stuff like that. And so I can speak from a male's perspective. You're kind of always pushed to free mix as much as possible, right? That's so important. Like female validation, it's the most important thing as a young man over maybe say being successful and, you know, athletics and academia and stuff like that. Like that, all that aside, it's very important for young men in the society to have as much female gratification as possible. Yeah, dude. Yeah, and Curly World. Hey, and sister, I know we got a sister in here. And I'm trying to be mindful of my language amongst women and stuff like that. I mean, mashallah. But yes, it's called pumping up. It's called straight up. And men were raised to be that way. And you're kind of looked as a sucker. Like if you're a guy and you fall in love, like you get teased. Being a guy, you get teased just for falling in love. Like guys would be like, I would be like, man, I really like so-and-so. She's beautiful. She's smart. She's funny. I like the way she dresses. She makes me feel like all these butterflies inside. And guys would be like, man, nigga, you gay? It's falling in love with girls, man. I'm being honest. That's how guys talk. That's how young guys talk, especially in high school. Be like, you fall in love with her, ugh. But oh yeah, like you're trying to get into her pants. Oh yeah, hey yo, that's my boy. That's my boy Zaki, man. He getting it. You know what I'm saying? That's how we talk amongst each other. Unfortunately, right? Wallahi, but yeah. So as you become an adult, right, you go through uni. Well, you guys in the UK, you call it uni, and then in the US we call it college. It's even more things because it's like, yeah, you're officially going to parties, especially in the US. You turn 21, you can drink, you can go out to bars, you can go out to clubs, you get invited to all these parties. And so it's really heavily basically encouraged to be a part of these activities. Like that's the college experience in America. The college experience in America is not making good grades and academia and all this stuff. It's really heavily stressed that you get involved with the college party lifestyle and hookup culture and things like that. That's why they say, hey, don't have, quote, too much fun in college. That's what it's basically about, right? So you're heavily encouraged to do that. And unfortunately, if you look at colleges right now, they've suffered for a very, very, very long time the problems of that. And I'm trying not to get this channel flagged, but we know what issue that I'm talking about. People that are drinking too much or doing drugs, and they made the intention of either party, right, whether it be male or female or whatever like that. The intention of one of the people is not to take advantage of that person, but they do something that is an action of that. But in their mind, they're not doing that, right? They just consume too much. They don't know what's going on. They're just going off their instincts, their physical instincts. And, the next day, somebody feels violated. The next day, somebody feels taken advantage of. The next day, somebody regrets what they did, unfortunately. And so, yeah, actually, let me go into the chat. Sister Talk, mashallah. Willer Zaki, do you think society sets men up to fail when it comes to women? Absolutely. And the reason I think that is because these days, I think a lot of men, we have a lot of self-esteem issues, just like women do. Women always set themselves up comparing themselves to others. And a lot of guys, there's like the alpha male, right? The alpha male, and I mean, I've seen it since middle school. He's the guy that gets all the girls. He probably makes terrible grades, but he gets all the girls. Everybody thinks he's cool. He dresses better than everybody else. He's super hip. He's cultured and things like that. He doesn't really struggle with social interactions. He's a natural social butterfly. People look up to him and stuff like that for his validation. And I think those people are such a tiny minority of the greater population as far as when you're young and you're in school and stuff like that. So, yeah, it teaches guys how to fail because everybody's different. Like all women are different. All men are different. Not everybody can be this, quote, alpha male. And it teaches men not to like being themselves. Like so many guys, they're obsessed with, overly, injecting themselves with steroids to have like this look of like the alpha male. All these guys look up all these tutorials online from all these, quote, dating and pickup artists about how to get women and how important it is to get women and things like that. I think Sister Talk, that goes into the video that you showed the other day. It's like it's obsession with all this validation, and then like men are miserable. And I remember back then I still struggle with mental health and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, wallahi, you know what I'm saying? My Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it easy on me. But back in the day, it was even worse because I wasn't getting I didn't have a girlfriend, or I wasn't getting girls or attention from girls, or I didn't have this attention that the, quote, alpha male had, or maybe I was concerned about my looks and I was not have self-esteem. Like when you're a guy, that makes you feel so low. And that's why you see suicide statistics amongst men is so high. Like male suicide is freaking astronomical. And in comparison to, the opposite sex, unfortunately, this is not to make it seem like what's going on in the opposite sex is not significant, but look across the world, especially in the West, male suicide is high, male depression is high, male anxiety is high, So let me look at Curly Whirly. This is why one of the worst actions is a man to talk about intimate details about his wife and vice versa. And you know what? Curly, that is real, bro. And I got an argument with people at work about this one time, and it was a few people. It wasn't a strong argument. It was just a strong disagreement. But I was like, why are you intimately giving details about your sex life with your significant other? And because I see this a lot. By you doing that, it's one thing if she agrees to that and she says that's acceptable, right? That's one thing. But it's another thing to where you don't think about the repercussions of that, because from where, in my line of work, I see a lot of people tempted to possibly, get interest. They physically get interested in somebody's spouse. They're like, ooh, like their husband does this and their husband does that. Like I kind of want a piece of that. And I hate to say, sisters, sometimes y'all bad about that. Like women, y'all are savages when it comes to trying to take another girl's man sometimes. Not you, sister talk, but I know girls that are like that. Oh, look, her husband is fine. He's got a good job. He treats her right. He's good in the bed. Like, I'm kind of interested. Guys see that too. Man, these guys be letting their wives and girlfriends walk out with freaking yoga pants and a crop top everywhere, and they're talking openly about their sex life, and they're really thinking that their friends and their homeboys aren't trying to freaking thirst for their girlfriend. Because there's a lot, believe it or not, there's a lot of guys out there, especially when they get into prison or let's say they go to the hospital, these guys are sliding in the DMs of these guys' girlfriends, man. I mean, it's sad. Curly says, sister talk, I believe it's both ways for men and women. The breakdown of genders, marriage, children, the ability for men to provide and the state providing instead of welfare. Yep. I mean, that's for sure, man. I mean, look at these days, bro. Like, it used to be a woman could work, stay at home, or she could work from home, and the husband was the main earner and everything was gravy. But the economies especially in the Western world, is so expensive that both parents have to work, and then that affects child rearing, right? So, the children aren't being monitored, and that leads to high crime, or their kids getting into having mental problems, or all these issues that they have because they don't have that outlet in connection with their parents, because their parents are constantly working, especially if you have the job where you have to travel. Some men that are high earning men, they're constantly traveling. They're working extra hours in order to, advance their career. Women too, they're working extra hours. They're not at home all the time. They have to have a babysitter or drop their kids off at the grandparents. It's kind of crazy. Okay. Sister, you said, Amin, your honesty is refreshing. Brother Zaki, may Allah work for your efforts. Hey, thank you so much. That means so much. Thank you so much, sister. And I'm sorry. And I'm going to say this too. I try to, whenever you have, I honestly try to catch every stream that you do, but I'm trying to be more conscious of how I get involved with your channel, because I think I have a big problem with knowing my boundaries, not only from a reverse perspective, but just as a person. Like, I'm kind of an extrovert. Like I'm a people person. I love talking to people. I love getting to know as much as I can about somebody. So sometimes I think I rub people off the wrong way. Like, I'm all up in your business. I'm always constantly coming into somebody's space and asking all these questions. Especially sometimes, unfortunately, this happened, sometimes when I jumped on panels, like I would jump on somebody's panel and it's like maybe a topic that I shouldn't be involved in, right? Maybe it's a cultural topic. I'm not from that culture, so maybe I shouldn't get into that cultural topic. I'm not of this nationality, so maybe I should not get into this topic. Maybe I'm not of the right gender. It's talking about women's issues. Wallahi, like if it's a panel about women's issues and it's a space for women, I should not probably get involved in those spaces. But a lot of times I don't check myself, and unfortunately I do that sometimes. And it's not just, I just want you to let you know that it's if I ever have done that in the past, wallahi, I'm working on it, and I'm very conscious of where I put myself, and because I don't want to ever give a vibe that I'm overstating my welcome, I'm invading people's spaces, or that my intentions are sometimes bad, especially when I talk to sisters. Like, I don't want to see them across as like I'm getting involved in conversations because I have feelings for X, Y, and Z, or I'm trying to slide in DMs or anything like that, wallahi. So I just wanted to say that too, on top of that. So that's why I really like your support so much, for you to leave your space to come here. And I'm just an upcoming guy. I don't have thousands of followers and things like that, to take out your time. And I know you're probably a busy woman, to look at my material. Thank you so much. Curly said, this is a sign of, I'm not going to mispronounce that. I'm really wary of mispronouncing languages, so I'm going to skip the word. For the man and woman to compete in the affairs of the dunya. And yeah, that was a reply to what your sister talk, what you just said about society women. Yaki, Zaki. But yeah, I mean, yeah, it teaches women to be competitive. And I think from my perspective, men and women both compete, right? We're human beings. Human beings compete against each other, right? In different ways. However, what society tells women to compete now, I think is unnatural. I think this career woman mindset and all this stuff, and a lot of career women I see so many marriage problems and relationship problems tied into them, and family problems too, tied into them pursuing a career, pursuing advancement in a career. And it's like society tells women you can have it all. You look at all these shows and it's like this boss career woman that could just doesn't take no for an answer, and she can compete against men and women, and she's the best at what she does. They really don't show the other side, that a mental health, that's going to affect your mental health, because you don't have good connections with people because you're constantly competing against them. You don't have any friends. All your friends are just people that you're competing against. 2, let's say you want to start a family or be in a loving relationship. You don't have time for that. And 3, I think that it's a very masculine thing. And I know we have a lot of gender bending and gender norms being, considered outdated and stuff, but I don't think that that's a very masculine trait. I think men are really the people that excel and really like, and it's natural for us to compete against each other in that kind of way. And I'm not dissing any woman that's involved in a career field and stuff like that. I just call it as I see it. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that career mindset and pursuing a career can be negative for your overall well-being. Even for men, for instance, there's a really good song called Cats in the Cradle by a guy named Yusuf Islam. He used to be known as Cat Stevens. He's from the UK. He was, he actually reverted to Islam. Mashallah, you know what I'm saying? Alhamdulillah. So this guy back in the day, he had a song called Cats in the Cradle. And it was about a young boy watching his dad and loving his dad and trying to have a relationship with his dad and wanting his dad in his life. But his dad was always chasing his career. His dad would always say, hey, next weekend we're going to hang out. And then his dad would be like, oh no, I can't be out this weekend. And then his son would get older, get in high school. He's like, hey son, I can't make it to the football game. Hey son, I can't do this. I can't make it to your graduation because I got to work. Then the son has his own, gets married. He's like, hey, I can't make it to your wedding, for this reason. And then the son has his first kid. And he's like, hey, I can't see my grandson because of this and that. And then the man gets old and he's on his deathbed and he's kind of like, his son is like, hey, and he's getting sick. His son is like, hey, sorry, dad, I can't make it to the hospital. I got this going on. I got that going on. Right. So this man chased a career his whole life, but it destroyed his relationship with his son. Okay. Sister talk. Sorry. I try to stay up on top of the comments or whatnot. I'm really caffeinated, by the way. I drank like a whole freaking thing of green tea. So, brother, you're always welcome. Please feel free and never apologize for being yourself. Knowledge is for all to be, inshallah. Thank you so much, sister. I really appreciate it. And that's why I wanted to start this channel. I wanted to get many different perspectives, not only from just an Islamic perspective, but just also from people that are secular, to see where they come from. Because, of course, you see right now, you guys are familiar with Speaker's Corner, right? Speaker's Corner is this space. Unfortunately, it gets really toxic, but it's this space where people of different religions, different backgrounds, whether it be either atheists, Muslims, Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists. I think I already said Buddhists, but they can all get together and have debates or not even debates sometimes, just exchange ideas and try to understand each other. Now, all too often, it ends in serious conflict, at least on an ideological standpoint. But I kind of want us to create a space like this where it's multifaceted and multidimensional. And So I was going off about, let me go back to free mixing. So what happens with me, especially I see it in the workplace, and wallahi, if you meet somebody that you work with that you end up falling in love with and things work out for you, mashallah, like great for you. Well, I wish you the very best. However, every single place I've worked, I've seen that become a bad thing very much. It's like 50-50, literally. Hey, it can end really good. You can meet somebody that you fall in love with, a life partner. You can settle down with that person, maybe even raise a family, something like that, right? This goes both over to halal and maybe say boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. I'm not advocating for, haram relationships, but I'm just saying from that perspective, right? If people do that. However, there's also the bad side where you get intimate with somebody that you work with and you don't want to show up for work again because hey, everybody knows you broke up. Everybody knows your drama. It's super awkward. You can't stand this person. Let's say this person is in a position where you have to work closely to this person. People like to think they can separate their professional life from their personal life, and all too often they can't. And I've seen really good, actually, I saw a couple recently. They're really good at being professional and separating professional life from their personal life. And I think a lot of it has to do, they just don't want people in their business, right? And it's obvious that they've been seeing each other for a while, but they do a really good job. And, I'm really happy for them. It seems like they work pretty well. Maybe one day their marriage, their relationship become halal even. One of them is with somebody that doesn't practice, and one of them was with somebody that just is not religious really at all. I think they're agnostic. But regardless, I still want the best for people. Maybe one day things will change for them or whatever like that. But I don't wish any bad upon people because I understand what it's like for people to be lonely and they just want to, have some kind of companionship. So yes, what they're doing is haram, but I'm glad that it is for the very most part there. It seems like they're actually in love and they're trying to build something together. And so Curly says, a problem I am having now is marrying a sister who is not drowning in student debt. This is why another way society traps women where they are forced to free mix and work till they pay off their heavy loans. Yes, actually, student loans heavily affect women a lot more because society says that a woman that is not educated is not valuable, right? And that's a big thing about feminism. Feminism says if you're not, get a degree in something at the very least, right? Whether it be gender studies or underground basket weaving, right? Women are not valuable unless they have a degree or whatever like that. I think that's really negative. A woman's main purpose in life shouldn't always be just to attain this high, status with a degree or quote career. Like you can be totally a great person and a great partner without that. And unfortunately, of course, it's the financial stipulations, the fact that it takes so much time out of your life. This goes to men and women too, but unfortunately, this affects women a lot more. But yeah, you can have a great relationship with somebody, meet your significant other, and not have them educate. Now, I don't want to date a woman or marry a woman that's stupid. And I think people assume that somebody has a degree that they're smart, but there's a lot of people that are dumb. They just know how to take tests really good. I'm not saying this to be malicious or anything like that, but it is what it is. And I want somebody with a good character. Education, all that comes secondary. I could go, years and years and years without caring about what degree somebody has. It's about their character and the fact that they're a good companion to me. That's the first thing I look for. But unfortunately, people don't think that. So it's all about, somebody's status and things like that, unfortunately. But hey, if you meet a sister that has student loan debt, I understand you're really young, you're 23. Don't knock down an option of somebody. This is my personal perspective because I've done this before. Don't knock down somebody because either they make more money than you or they don't make enough money than you or they have financial problems. I get it. Marriage is not only a love bond between people, but also involves finances, wallahi. But at the same time, you never know where you're going to be or where you can end up with somebody. If they do have financial problems, talk to them about that. Say, hey, if we get married, are we going to work together to solve your financial problems? And are you going to be a good partner? Let's say if on my end, I have financial problems, are you going to support me the same way that I support you? That's the conversation that I would have. But hey, man, I'm not your dad. I'm just 32. There's a lot of people that I wish that I could have settled down with. I was engaged at one period of time and I wish I stayed with that person but it didn't work out for various reasons. But one of the reasons was because of finances and things. Nicer says, have a wonderful week, and I peeped your very first vid because I'm nosy, lol, and left a comment since I didn't know you were going live again. Good to talk with you. Hope your day was all. Yes, my day, man, some of my days are so weird, man. Some of my days, they start off good, and then they get low. There's like, especially, unfortunately, I work with people that I don't get along with, or I feel like don't get along with me. Personality clashes, personal issues, and stuff like that. So unfortunately, that makes the workplace kind of toxic to me sometimes mentally. But, mashallah, it's only lasts so long, because if I focus on something like good, or let's say I make salah at work and stuff like that during my breaks, for duhur, then I get those things out of my mind. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'm blessed, man. I have food. I had food to eat. I had safety. I'm making money. I may not like my job, especially I actually can't stand my job, but hey, it's better than nothing. I got a year and a half left on my contract. And then after that, I'm going to pursue my dream of being a history teacher. That is my dream. I've had it for a while, and I'm going to stick to that. Maybe I'll work part-time jobs in between that while I complete my education certifications. But, that's where I want to head in life. So you're forced to pay your loans. Hey, so in the U.S., one big conversation when it comes to student loans is a lot of people actually say, don't pay your student loans back. There's actually, depending on the amount, right? This is depending on the amount. Some people are like, don't pay your student loans because it's not going to affect your credit as much as you think. Even if you do pay off the loans, it's still going to take a while for your credit to go back up. So for even me, I owe about I think $4,000 in student loans, like $4K. Which I could probably actually pay off right now. I actually have more than enough money saved up right now where I could pay double that, right? But I don't do it because I want that money to go towards investing. I want that money to go towards safety money. Let's just say my house burns down and I lose everything. I still want that. I want money for that. I consider that more important than paying off my student loans right now. Now, when I finally get married, inshallah, when it happens, that's probably going to be one of the first things I do is knock out the debt. Where do you work at? So basically, in a nutshell, I'm not going to put my organization out there because, this is the internet and you get docs and all that crap. But, I basically do IT. It's like a light IT administrative job. I'm not an office guy. I don't like office work. That's not me. I like teaching people about things I'm passionate about, and I'm a people person. I like interacting with people a lot on a physical level, like you're physically there with me. Me typing up a bunch of stuff, me going on the internet to get a bunch of stuff, me checking a bunch of emails all day. That's not me. I'm sorry. And I thought that it was something that I could possibly do and that I would like because I never did that before. I've never done that kind of office work before. But now that I've done it for over 4 years, it's not me. It's just not me. And some people are good at it, and some people that even don't like it, they're good at it. But it's just not me. It is not natural. It's unnatural for me to do that kind of work. That's just my personal opinion. So some people, they like that kind of work and they excel at it. I'm one of those people because of my personality and my behaviors that I mesh with jobs that I'm passionate about. If I'm not passionate about my job, I do not want to do it. I lose interest, and it affects my work too sometimes because I'm just not mentally there. I'm not connected to my work. Dude, that's what's up, man. Hey, so when we have that 101 or that open mic, dude, let's go into history, bro. I've been meaning to actually have people on this channel that I can talk to about history, bro. I mean, dude, let's go, man. I'm gonna have my open mic tomorrow. Oh, wait, hey, Ibro TV. Hey, what's up, man? Salam. Yeah, so I'm talking about free mixing. We're kind of going all over the place right now, but hey, if you guys got questions you want to ask me, I'm live. I'm here. It's Friday where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? I'm caffeinated. Let's talk. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I love history. Check out Kings and Generals. That is a wonderful show, and they actually talk a lot about Islamic history. They talk about the Golden Age. They talk about the Moors in Spain. They talk about so much great history, and it's non-biased. It's just about the facts. And it really is not just from a Western perspective. They talk about Eastern cultures, Eastern perspectives, Africa, the New World, which is the Western Hemisphere. Check it out. Great channel, amazing channel. You're a programmer? Yeah, man. Yeah, it's exactly. When you're not into it, you're not into it. And you can make good money doing this, but if you're not feeling it, all the money in the world doesn't matter, right? Nicer says, I'm going to email you a lot to say about personal finance that wouldn't fit in the comics with limited characters. Yes, please do. That I need to get my financial game up. Me in particular, I'm really worried about the current financial stance of the world because there's a whole thing called the Great Reset and cryptocurrency and the stock market and how they all ties together. So I'm trying to key out on my P's and Q's and try to self-educate myself on how to be ready for the next thing that comes through. But Ebro, what I was talking about earlier is how when I first reverted, I really didn't understand why free mixing was so frowned upon. But now when I reflect on my life, I understand why free mixing is considered a bad thing because of the repercussions that come from it. Like if men and women were robots, right? We weren't human beings because human beings are flawed. We know this for sure. Human beings are flawed. Our intentions sometimes get skewed. How we interact with each other, that can change. Our behaviors change depending on circumstances, right? It's just we're kind of chaotic creatures as well as creatures of habit, right? So if human beings were pure, if we were like the angels, right? Because the angels are created without free will and they're pure, right? They have pure intentions, they do pure things, right? So that being said, if human beings were like that, we wouldn't need free mixing. We wouldn't be worried about free mixing. If we were robots and every single day we programmed ourselves to behave appropriately amongst each other, to treat each other right, to treat each other with kindness and dignity, we wouldn't have crime. We wouldn't have anything like that. And actually, if you look at a lot of sci-fi movies, right? A lot of sci-fi movies talk about that, like human beings being programmed to have certain behaviors in order to stop crime and stop doing, bad things to each other. But all too often, unfortunately, in the real world, that doesn't exist. Like people that advocate heavy for free mixing, that advocate heavy for, partying, drinking, fornication, zina, and all that stuff. Because in Western culture, that's considered very important, right? That's a very important part of Western culture. It's normalized, right? They don't understand that if you do that, it is unfortunate, but you have to accept the consequences of doing that. If I say free mixing is cool, okay for my daughter to hang out with another man alone, wallahi, I wish he has the best intentions for her. But all too often, right, a boy's intentions is, he just wants to have sex. Now, the girl could be like, he's actually a friend. I like him, blah, blah, blah. But all too often, I know a man's intentions. His intention is to get in my daughter's pants. Now, if she's willing to do that, wallahi, and she's not being manipulated, and that's something that she wants to do, that's one thing, right? But even that being said, let's say all too often, kids aren't using protection, right? Even if they have access to it, they don't want to do it, right? Because guess what? I hate to say it doesn't feel as good, right? So they do it, and then STDs happen, right? All too often, STDs happen. And depending on the person, that could be a traumatic experience of getting an STD, right? STDs happen, unwanted pregnancy happens. So even if my daughter gets pregnant, right? She takes pregnant, she could be like, I love this guy. And I see it happen all the time. I love him, daddy. I want to have his baby. And the guy's like, whatever, I don't want anything to do with that. And he can literally disappear and she can never see him again. And she's left with this child, right? So that's option one. And also on top of that, I'm obligated to help my daughter out. So it's also, I hate to say it, I don't want to say any child's a burden, but that becomes a burden on me, right? Also on top of that, let's say she's like, I don't want his kid. I want an abortion. People act like abortions are just so easy to have. Like that's one thing that really irks my gears about feminists, right? Feminists want easy access to abortion. And I'm not going to get into if abortion is murder or not. Me, myself personally, I think it's terrible. It's one thing to get the morning after pill or something like that, or, terminate pregnancy in its very early stages. But some of the stuff they advocate for now is like abortion at 8 months or something stupid and crazy like that. That's murder to me. But anyway, there's a lot of pro-life groups that the media doesn't cover that's actually formed by survivors of abortion and them regretting their decision for the rest of their life. Like that's having PTSD from having their abortion, having suffered from depression, anxiety because of their abortion. It's not because of the social stigma. It's because the experience itself is a traumatic experience for a lot of people, and they don't cover that. They act like getting an abortion is, getting a daily checkup at the hospital. Like that's something that's growing inside of you. That's something that's naturally tied into your body. That's not something to be taken lightly. And wallahi, I would hope that nobody gets ever put in that position where they have to make that decision. And I hope they make the right decision that's according to their values and to themselves. But at the same time, we cannot lie and act like it's an easy thing. Sorry, I missed some of the chat. Yeah, I do. Yeah, subscribe to a lot of history places too as well. Thank you for agreeing for me, Ibra TV. Listen to John Hale. Aki, he goes deep into ancient Greek and Persian history. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I'm really interested in Persian history a lot, in particular. In the West, Persian history gets overshadowed because the Greeks in particular never wrote anything good about the Persians in particular. That's actually very interesting. People advocate that are trying to be modern. We are in times. Yeah, and I see it a lot, man. And like, for instance, that's one thing that actually got me to revert, right? I like that Islam was consistent. And this is I don't want to offend anybody here and get into religion, people that don't feel comfortable with that, but I'm just have to say this, right? I grew up in the church, right? And every church is different. There's different denominations, right? But I was the Protestant, kind of like, it's called non-denominational, but it's basically Protestant. It's a mixture of all the different Protestant denominations. They kind of mix them together, right? That's like the modern standard Christianity that a lot of people have. People are going to church dressed like they don't even dress to like appropriately. Sometimes they go to church. They be going to church with short shirts, short shorts, tank tops. Guys are wearing tank tops, showing off as much of their body, and it's all like, oh, I just come here to worship. How I dress shouldn't matter, right? I thought that was kind of tacky sometimes in like the mega churches and things like that. It's obviously that they dress like that because they want to get attention, right? So that takes away from the reason that they should be there, which is to worship and learn about their religion, right? And true fellowship, like spiritual fellowship. But my mom, when she divorced my dad, she dated a pastor, and he was one of the worst human beings I've ever met in my life. He was an alcoholic, he was abusive, and things like that. And I'm not saying that Christianity inherently creates people like that, or all Christians are like that. No, don't ever get that skewed, because same people say that about Islam. Oh, and I see a lot of ex-Muslims say this. Ex-Muslims love going on YouTube and say, oh, wallahi, I married a man and he did this and he did that. Or a daughter saying, oh, my parents forced me to dress like this and they've oppressed me. Or brothers talking about, oh, my parents were saying my sexuality and I was treated this way and stuff. So regardless, no matter what religion you come from, people can use that as an excuse. And there's supposed to be no compulsion in religion. And it's ironic that people overlook that when it comes to Islam. But I see that rift, especially when a lot of people immigrate. They talk about their culture back home and how they were oppressed and things like that. But that's another subject, right? So that being considered, I saw that a lot of churches were basically, there's like a lot of moral, not only like actual ethical corruption, but the pastors were fornicating with their congregation. Pastors were obviously hitting on women in their congregation. Pastors were engaged in all kinds of scandalous activity outside the church. They were, sorry, it's about time to pay, I believe, Maghrib. Yeah, so I'll probably pray in a little bit and try to end this soon. But pastors are doing they're cheating on their wives openly and all this stuff. And I got really sick of seeing that and those people not being held accountable. Now, I'm not saying every sheikh or every imam or every scholar is perfect and stuff, but I see in general in the Muslim community, there seems to be more consistency on like, hey, you're the imam, you're the sheikh, like you are going to be held accountable and you're supposed to be held to a higher standard than these people, right? Than the people under you. You're supposed to represent something. And I really like that. And when it comes to Fred mixing, and just I go to the masjid to pray and also have some spiritual fellowship, but I go there primarily to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what I go there for. And also to learn about the deen, right? to refresh myself. I don't go there to pick up women. I don't go there to find even to unfortunately to find somebody to hook up with or date or something like that. That's not my intention going there. I would never go to a masjid even that has a reputation of people going there for that reason. That's not what I do, right? That's not what I'm interested in. That being said, unfortunately, there's people that are even pushing for that. They kind of want to have that same kind of atmosphere, and that takes away from what I think those actual venues are supposed to be about. Like, if you want to do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, do that outside the masjid. Do that somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? Like, go to the tea place, go to the hookah bar, go to the kebab shop, go somewhere else to do that, but don't do that at the masjid. This is sacred ground, right? Yeah, a lot of Christians doubt their faith, and brother, that's true. And a lot of people are just cultural Christians because the theology behind it, they really don't support it. Because depending on what denomination you're into, it can get really heavy with Greek Orthodox Christians, Catholics, Protestants, Jehovah's Witnesses, and stuff like that. And sometimes that creates a lot of cultural things. So, like, for instance, people celebrate Christmas and Easter, but they don't actually celebrate it because they're actually trying to tie into their actual identity. It's just something to do. It's just another holiday, right? It's another day off work or another excuse to go out and spend time with friends and family. But I think we have to be honest too, especially in the West or in countries that were colonized, right? Because, a lot of the Islamic world was colonized by Western powers, by the British, by the French, by the Germans, by the Spanish, whatever you would like to have it, right? So they pushed their values onto the cultures that they colonized. So if you look at even like universities in a lot of these countries, look at especially Egypt, even Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, some Arab countries, they're creating a lot. It's in Turkey too, especially. They're producing a lot of people that are being indoctrinated also into a secularized ideology, and where they are forced to confront their doubts of faith. And all too often, unfortunately, wallahi, people just leave, and they won't say it outright, but their actions speak louder than the words. I see a lot of people like, they choose to move to a more westernized country after they do their degree, so they could do whatever they want and live their whatever lifestyle they want. They they start dressing differently, they start speaking differently, they start adopting different customs and things like that, and they want to westernize themselves, quote unquote. So unfortunately, that's a thing that is kind of unspoken. I see all too often. I mean, especially it's worse in Canada than it is the US, but boy, I look at a lot of I struggle to even find practicing Muslim Canadian YouTubers. And it's already hard to find ones in America, but I see so many stories of people moving to Canada and just completely changing within a generation. Like their kids don't practice, the kids don't do this, they don't do that, because Canada is a very, very liberal country, right? America, I know a lot of people personally, they move here to the U.S. And their kids, they don't practice. They start dressing a certain kind of way. They start becoming more westernized and Americanized and stuff like that. And pretty soon, they don't even celebrate Eid. They say, "Oh, every now and then I pray," but they always pray. They always pray when they're in trouble, but they never pray when good things are happening to them. You know what I'm saying? They're Muslim when it comes to, they're going through things, they need help, right? But all too often, they're not praying, at all. They drink. They commit zina. And saying, and I'm not using this from a high point and saying I'm the best Muslim or I have always practiced and stuff like that. Wallahi, I've always been transparent about that. You can look at my previous videos, but I all too often I see that it's too common that people don't practice here as well. Turkey is, Hump is in my country in Mali. Oh, you're in Mali? Oh, dude, I love Mali, dude. You guys actually, Timbuktu was such a center for learning, and dude, Mali is amazing. The Malian Empire, do be very proud to be Malian, man. Yeah, and they do abandon their culture. Yeah, free mixing African churches. Yeah, don't even get me started on African churches, man. Africans, I love my black people, I love Africans, but African churches make, outside of the Orthodox Coptic churches, like the Coptic churches and the Orthodox churches in Ethiopia and Eritrea. That's one thing. But I'm talking about like the churches elsewhere. They make Christians look real bad. They're scamming. They're doing all kinds of crazy things in these churches. But yeah, Turkey. Oh, bro. I met some Turkish brothers that practice Wallahi, and they're really cool. But a lot of them are frustrated too by the state of Turkish affairs and stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah. There's alcohol. I watch Turkish shows. There's people drinking alcohol in Istanbul and stuff. There's bars in Istanbul. There's pride parades in Istanbul. All kinds of stuff. Belly dancing, yeah, and the belly dancing, believe it or not, actually originated in Egypt. Also, on top of that, but yes, Turkey became very secular because they wanted to Europeanize themselves so they can compete with the Western powers because they're afraid of being colonized like their Arab neighbors. If you look at the history of it, Mustafa Kemal, who is considered the Ataturk, the father of modern Turkey, he was very Western in his education. Now, he did believe that Islam was very important for Turkish history, but he went over his way to secularize the country as much as possible. And that history still exists today to where they even banned the hijab for a long time. Facts, there's a verse on when people pray in danger but abandon their faith. Yeah, man, dude, that makes me so sad. And that it shouldn't make me upset. I know I should control my emotions, but that makes me so upset. And it exists in every religion, and Christians too. Oh, you're never Christian until you go through something, and then you're praying on your knees, asking for forgiveness and this and that, and asking for help from God. But when you got good stuff going on, man, you don't even donate to your local church. You don't volunteer for charity. You don't give to charity. You're selfish. You sin as much as possible. But when you go through things, you want to go to God. And I see that with in our ummah, with especially young people, right? This is regardless if they're immigrants or even in their home country. Sometimes, man, you got everything going on and stuff like that. And then the very minute that you go through something, you're making salah. You're offering salah. You know what I mean? Because you can't hang out with the friends you wanted to hang out with. Your social media presence isn't that big. You know what I mean? Your parents grounded you because you did something stupid or you got in trouble, or unfortunately, some of the time you're in prison. And that really sucks. And I don't wish prison on anybody, man. But sometimes prison or going to a mental asylum or going to a hospital is what it takes people to get back into their deen. Unfortunately, that's what happens a lot. That's true, bro. The people on the ship, the verse. Okay, so yeah, I'd like to try to find what verse that is, man. That's too real, man. And that's what gets me about people. When they even say they're non-practicing, right? And this is not only within the Ummah, right? This exists in other communities. For instance, there's cultural Christians, like I mentioned before. There's, quote, recovering Catholics, people that do not practice because they may disagree with the actual policies of the Catholic Church and its leadership. They call themselves recovering Catholics. There's non-practicing Jews. Obviously, being a Jew is considered, or Jewish is considered a nationality or ethnic group. It doesn't also tie to religion. There's a lot of non-practicing Jews I met. Actually, I had a class with one. He has tattoos of like Yiddish symbols and Hebrew and stuff like that. And he's very pro-Israel. He considers himself a Zionist and things like that. But he even admits, he's like, hey, I consider all that history important, but that's all old. That's our previous history. We need to modernize this and that and the third. So the world is secularizing all religions. It's just that they're really trying to focus on Islam because it's like the last bastion of religion in the world. It's the last religion where people actually go out of their way to practice it in its original tenets, right? Bro, as in Turkey, free mixing was such a big problem. There was so much temptation. You can hear the mosque and Adam, but outside is miniskirts and yoga pants. I even see on speaker corners, dude. Actually, Shamsi, he was talking to a bunch of young, kids one time. I think they were like high school age, what's the equivalent of high school age or secondary school, whatever you like to call in the UK. And one of the girls there, she was beautiful. She was beautiful too, mashallah. She was a beautiful girl. And he was asking, oh, where you from? Where you from? Where you from? And honestly, a lot of Turks, some of them look very, very white. Like they look very, very European looking on top of that. So you would never think this girl's from Turkey. And he's like, are you Muslim? Are you Muslim? And all the people were like, no, I'm from Denmark. I'm from Sweden. This. And he's like, are you Muslim? And she's like, yes. He was like, oh, because she wasn't wearing hijab or anything like that. She didn't have any outward indicators, right? And he was like, oh, and he spoke a little Arabic to her, and she spoke back in Turkish. And he was like, oh, you're Turkish, where are you from? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, oh, I'm from Istanbul, blah, blah, blah. And you would never, ever think this girl was Muslim at all, because, most Muslim countries are inhabited by people of color, right? Whether it be African, Arab, Desi, and things like that, and he was just like, wow, I never would have thought that. And I can kind of only imagine that that's being the norm in Turkey. I even see like with Turkish TV shows, they look back upon their Ottoman history as being they're proud to be, the descendants of the Ottomans. But a lot of their other shows are very secular shows. Like you would never think Turkey is a Muslim country at all. Like you would just think they're very westernized. They would think it's Germany or Italy or any Western country. Like they drink alcohol. They're, committing zina and all these things. The woman dressed really provocatively. You can go on Instagram and actually, see a lot of Turkish models and beaches in Turkey, and you would never think it's a Muslim country. From Mali, so much Muslim, but so much black magic. Yeah, I can only imagine. So I like to educate myself more on that. So when I have my open mic, I'm going to schedule it tomorrow, and we can chop it up. I'll have an open mic. I'll send you. Let's see. I'll put my email in the chat. I'm gonna put my email in the chat, and everybody that gets this email in the chat, email me and back immediately, because I'll be able to schedule the broadcast, and I'll send you the link to jump on the panel. So if any of you guys are interested that are viewing this right now, or anybody that's interested in possibly jumping on this open mic, wallahi, send them my way, and you can send them the link as well. So I'm gonna put my email in the chat right now. Curly, you already know my email, so I'll be sure to find you. Ebro TV, I'm sending this right now. This is my email. That's my email right there. By all means, send me email at your earliest convenience, or take that down, copy it somewhere, and I'll give you the link to start that open mic tomorrow. I'll try to have the open mic for about an hour just to see if people can kind of stream in. And if they stream in, I'll ask for like their email, and then I'll send them the invite in an email if they haven't already have it, so they can jump on, if they haven't done it before. The Prophet, Salih Wasallam, stressed to look different from the non-Muslims, to be proud of their religion, like having beards and pants at ankle. Yeah, that's what's up. Like Mufti Munir is proud of his deen. Mufti Munir, man, that's the man, bro. He makes me proud to be a black Muslim. I'm so proud of that guy. Hadith disciple, man. And he's not only a good scholarly guy, but he's very compassionate. He has a lot of empathy, especially when it comes to the youth. He gave one good lecture. He's just like, hey, man, we need to stop being so hard on the youth, because we're turning a lot of them away. And he's like, hey, we all fall short, right? We all have our naps, but it's about a sliding scale, and it's about effort, right? For instance, if you have somebody that they're going out, they're partying and raving or something like that. Hey, first take them out of the environment, right? Then after that, they gradually get reduced in the habits, like they'll stop drinking. And you can't have them stop drinking overnight, because some people, if they develop a habit or a drug addiction, especially, that can be deadly. So, hey, they're not drinking every day. They're drinking every other day. Then they're only drinking on the weekend. Then they're just drinking once a week, and then stop drinking altogether. Oh, hey, they're committing sin and they have a girlfriend, right? Gradually, they start breaking off the relationship over a period of time. And then after that, they break up with somebody. They're like, hey, if you don't want to get married, we have to stop seeing each other. I want to keep this halal. You know what I mean? That's the best way to go about it sometimes. On this Black Magic in Somalia, I'm actually very surprised. I'm very, very surprised to hear that. I know witchcraft and black magic is a big, big, big issue in a lot of African countries, more or less, especially in Central Africa and West Africa in particular. And I do think other cultures have it. I mean, in the West, for instance, Satanism is actually getting pretty big in the West. And paganism, like straight up paganism and Satanism, is actually making a comeback. It's a very slow comeback. A lot of it has to do with cultural reasons and people being disillusioned with American religion, American spirituality. So they're kind of going back to their roots, especially a lot of, let's be honest, white people. A lot of white people are being like, oh, our ancestors were the Vikings and they were the Celts and they were Roman and they were Greek. We need to go back to our pagan roots, right? And you know what I'm saying? So it's them embracing their European identity and the European culture pre-Christianity, right? Because that's what they believed, that they were truly, you know, the most powerful in their opinions and had the biggest, strongest identity. Bro, do you believe we are more soft today? Back in the Providence Day, one verse with the use of sacrifice, like, yeah, we are. We completely are. Let's keep it honest, because we still want to fit in as much as that's why the Westerners really look upon assimilation as being a big thing. Oh, these immigrants, they have to assimilate to our way of life, right? But as much as they stress out about it, their kids are doing it already. Like, they can't get the parents to do it, but their kids all too often are assimilating very, very rapidly, because you can't put these people in this environment where these things that are haram are normal, and then you have them in schools where they're free mixing and they're not learning about their deen. Or if they're learning about their deen at the madrasa, like the imam is just, they can't relate to him. He's not empathetic. And actually, I had a stream about that, about sometimes I would go up to imams after I reverted, and so many of them were very standoffish. Like, they were like, oh, he's a weaver. Like, they would judge me for my haircut. They would judge me because I don't have a full beard, and I do shave everything but my mustache. But even when I don't grow a full beard. I've never been able to have a full beard my whole life. I've only started shaving like the last 4 years. Before that, I never had a beard. I can't grow a beard. I can grow a little stubble right here, but I can't grow a beard. So they kind of look at it as being a sign of something, right? Or the way I dress. I wear streetwear, right? So I wear hoodies, I wear sweats, and I go to the masjid to be comfortable, right? I try not to wear anything too extravagant. But when I make offer salah, I don't have, a thrope on or something like that. So people judge you because of that. And I can only imagine how sisters feel. Sisters are like, oh, my hijab is not right. Oh, I have a little hair showing. Or, oh, it doesn't cover my bosom properly. Or, my clothes are too tight. My pants are too tight. You know what I mean? Or whatever reason, right? There's a bazillion reasons. Like, some people are out there are like, if a sister's not wearing niqab, she's not a true sister. She's not a true practicing sister. I'm like, come on, man, bro. Like I can imagine that makes so many sisters just feel like they're never enough, like they're never adequate. So I think we need to really talk about that sometimes. Yeah, shakes these days are so scary, dude. Let me write that down. Scary shakes, bro. That's going to be a whole topic right there. And I'm glad you said about the throat, man. The throat really is a cultural thing. And so I think the niqab is a cultural thing too as well. Like I believe that we put too much pressure on our sisters to be perfect, right? And I'd rather have a sister and take me as this. Man, I'd rather have a sister that, yes, she may wear yoga pants every now and then, but if she wears yoga pants, she covers up her buttocks. She wears something long to cover it, but she just has leggings underneath. Or maybe she doesn't wear a hijab or something. I'd rather have a sister like that prays 5 times a day, or tries to pray 5 times a day, that at least can recite Quran, than a sister that just she's wearing that to please her parents, and on Friday night she's freaking going off raving and doing all this kinds of stuff, and she doesn't actually even know anything about the deen. You know what I'm saying? And this is not any shot at anybody, but may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us all. But this is something I see. Crazy shakes. I'm gonna write that down. That is a good one. Crazy shakes. Hopefully we can bring that up tomorrow. So that being said, brothers, I think this has been a good stream. I don't want to go on for too long because I haven't, to be honest, I've been behind my prayers. It's Maghrib right now, and I want to pray on time and try to I've been going through a lot of stuff recently with my mental health, and it's been affecting how I the times I pray sometimes, because sometimes I get so caught up in what's going on in my mind and work and my personal problems that I forget to, make what do on time and all these things. I was really good about for like a very long time of praying on time and things like that. And just this beginning of this month, it's just, I think this lockdown has finally gotten to me, and it's kind of throwing me off because I miss the masjid. I miss going and praying at the masjid. I miss Juma. I miss all those kind of things. So let me just go through the last few comments. Like, if you got anything on your mind, please comment right now because I'm going to end this right now. My wudu is still valid, so I'm going to go offer salah in a bit. Shout out to everybody that attended today, especially shout out to Sister Talk and Ebro TV. I haven't seen you guys. Sister Talk, I saw her once before. Of course, she was there yesterday. You know what I'm saying? MashaAllah. But Ebro, I saw you maybe one other time. I'm glad you could catch this one. Thank you so much for coming, bro. So I put my email in the chat. I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to dip. So, Brother, can you make a video on what elements you think is important for marriage and finding your sister? That's so hard, brother. That is so hard. Because, brother, since I'm 32, it's very hard for me. So they're actually matchmakers, and I've gotten actually some of their information, and I need to follow up on it. But it's really hard to see myself matching up with somebody through a matchmaker, considering all the things that are going on. For instance, I have a roommate right now, and my lease isn't even up for another 6 months, and I might resign this lease. So leases here are for a year. So I can't be married to someone, and I do not want to be married to someone and move them in with another man living in our household. So it seems like marriage is, especially is really expensive where I live. Like that's something that takes a long time to plan out. There are a lot of universities around me, so I am down to meet a girl that's about to get out of university and stuff like that, and find a marriage partner in that. It's just honestly where I'm at. It's really hard to find, because all the communities are kind of segregated. Afghans live here, Somalis live here, Arabs live here, and things like that. And it's kind of hard to meet people around the same age as you that are available for marriage, whether even if they're like divorced or widowed. It's kind of hard. And I would be down to marry somebody divorced or widowed. I have no problem with that. And even if they, let's say they have kids, like I'm actually down to do that. If I think they have good character, I think they have they're at least decently educated. And of course, I'm a man, right? I do want a beautiful woman. If she takes care of herself, that does matter to me. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a physical person. I take care of myself, right? So I expect my woman to take care of herself as well. But I will do that one of these days. And when I do that, I want sisters to get engaged in that conversation. I feel like it's not a good conversation if it's only one-sided. I have to also get, hopefully maybe even Sister Talk or some other people that she may know that feel comfortable having that conversation. We'll keep it as halal as possible. But I mean, we also need sisters' voices as well, because I've yet to have an experience of finding a spouse so far. Yeah, but it's different from a halal perspective, because in the West, people don't want to be honest, and people are very disingenuous in the West. And brother, I'm not trying to set off your naps, but I'm going to be very honest. In the West, people's intimacy is considered one of the most important foundations of their relationship. They act like it's not. They say this and that, but a lot of marriages or a lot of relationships, whether it be dating or otherwise, they're really based upon the fact that these people can tolerate each other, even if they don't like each other, based upon their physical chemistry with one another. And I'm trying to keep this PG. If they did not have good intimacy relations or good intimacy communication, that relationship is not going to last. That's why infidelity and cheating is such a big, huge thing over here, because people are disingenuous and they think that, all it takes is love and this and that. But because we live in a very hypersexual culture, if they have intimacy issues, people are more likely to lose interest in a long-term relationship with this individual. And I'm going to have a stream talking about that. It's going to be called Disingenuous. And all the disingenuous things I hear in our society of what people say what they want when they prove otherwise. And I think it's a very important thing that we recognize this. So let me put down disingenuous. Thank you so much for asking that question. So there's my email. I'm going to end the stream right now. Thank you so much for tuning in, man. I will also take this time, offer dua for people that are suffering around the world, for people that are suffering oppression, the Uyghur, the people in Burma, people all over the world that are suffering through poverty, war, traumatic abuse, and all kinds of things, financial hardship, all these things going on. Please, if you offer salah, please keep them in mind. Make dua for them. Let's make dua for each other. Every dua matters. All of your intentions matter. Please keep other people's thoughts and hearts in your spiritual diet, because we're all going through something and we all need to help each other. And I think we're gradually getting more and more selfish as a people. Thank you so much, Sister Talk. I didn't even know you were still here. Maybe you got in and you came back, but yeah, Sister, thank you so much. I put my email in the chat. You can take it down, send me an email, because I do want to have an open mic tomorrow, and I'm going to send out the link to everyone. And if you don't want to be a part of that, that's completely understandable. But I would like your perspective. Anytime that you're interested in having a topic or a discussion with me, shoot me an email and say, hey, would you like to talk about this? We'd like to talk about that. Especially if I talk about any issues relating to the opposite gender, the opposite sex. I feel like as a man, I can't sit here and then say from my perspective. I think we need to have different perspectives as well. And I would like more sisters to feel welcome to come on this channel and to express themselves. Because unfortunately, as an ummah, I feel like women have been unfortunately put to the back spaces in a lot of really crucial conversations that we need to have. And that's why feminists are able to go into the community and exploit that and say, hey, your men don't respect you. Your men don't care about you. Your men don't care about your opinions, your perspective, your emotions, your feelings. And that's been to our detriment. And I think the only way we're going to solve that is by having constructive conversations together. Yeah. I'm about to offer a lot too. It's Maghrib time. That's why I was in this stream. So yeah, my email's in the chat. By all means, send me an email and just say, hey, hello. I'd like to be a part of, a stream sometime. And then if I have a stream or open mic, I'll send everyone the link to it so you can enjoy it. So I'll probably do one tomorrow. You guys in the UK, a lot of you. So I'll look at your time zone to schedule it appropriately. And then I'll send you guys the invite. But if not, we can do another day, inshallah. But thank you so much. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You guys have a wonderful day. Stay safe. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you and he loves us. Take care.